All sorts of, plowed out.
Near the gun gate.
Exactly. Very quick modern story. In 1948, when Israel was founded as a state, the Sea of Galilee was only 3/4 Israel, 1/4 Syria. It was an international body of water, and the headwaters of the Jordan River were more in Syria than in Israel. And Israel then needing to keep and conserve as much water as possible. And there was a plan made, actually on the books, to take the headwaters that Israel has, and rather than have that water go into the Sea of Galilee, where 1/4 of it could then be taken by Syria, actually pump it off in a pipe to this valley. The Sea of Galilee then would kind of go down and dry up. Oh well. And then this would be the new lake, Lake Netofa. All right? That sounds reasonable. Sounds like something that Roosevelt would have done during the Great Depression to kind of make the Southwest profitable, right? Okay. And so they found out, some guy said, no, wait a minute. The hills of this valley are the kind of limestone that has aquifers underneath where the water kind of sinks in, the rainwater, and goes down. So if you put the Sea of Galilee water here, it'll just all go down. And it was deemed too expensive to line this entire valley with concrete. Yeah. So they said, we'll just leave it. And now, you see where the road is? The car's driving? Mm-hmm. Behind it looks like another road. Mm-hmm. That's a little water carrier bringing water, only bits and pieces, to these pools where the water is treated and then sent underground. And when you turn on the faucet in the Gloria Hotel, that's where it comes from.
Wow.
All right. So they're pulling it, but bit by bit, bit by bit,
Wow.
coming up. If you are a terrorist and have a drone and a bottle of arsenic, you know what to do, right? But it's a very heavily guarded spot, very heavily guarded spot, and your drinking water is safe. Now, this is a Jewish town, red roofs. The two behind it are Arab. The one slightly off in the valley is Arab. The ones way up on the hill are Arab, Muslim, Israeli. This one is Arab, Muslim, Israeli. This one is Jewish. And you've got populations here crowding around the valley, making a living off it. The fields are like half-half, even though the techniques will be similar in both. Now, the two big cities around the valley in Jesus' day, one was Sepphoris, which had this strong kind of Gentile flavor to it, sucking up the wealth from the valley and the highway running through from sea to shining sea. And the other one was a Jewish town doing the same thing, a place called Cana of Galilee, right on the edge of the valley, sucking up the wealth of the valley and the highway going through. Very profitable town, being Jewish. Where is Cana? Nobody lives there anymore. Let me see if I can point it out to you. The Arab town here, the big one, Kfar Manda village. Follow where the hill meets the valley to the right. Just keep going to the right. Keep going to the right, keep going to the right, keep going to the right, right about on that angle. If you come, well, let's do it this way instead.
That patch of trees.
That big patch of green trees out there. What is that, mile off? You see it?
Yeah.
Just to the right of it, where you got no trees, go straight up.
Okay.
Go straight up, and you've got a rise up there of Cana. All right? Other side of the valley. Walking it is going to take you maybe from Nazareth, maybe half a day. Maybe half a day. All right, so it's not like an everyday trip, right? Jesus, Mary, some other guys go to a wedding in Cana. Now, why would you be invited to a wedding? It's got to either be family or friend. or coworker, right? I mean, it's not a stranger. So the supposition is, who is this guy? Some people say Nathaniel. There's no way to know. My point is this. For Jesus and Mary to have connections from Nazareth to that town well enough to have a wedding means you've got them going back and forth a lot. So this then becomes a very familiar valley to Jesus and Mary and whoever that guy is. How did they know each other? Maybe they're cousins, maybe they're both tectons, maybe they meet together working here. Maybe they met here, maybe who knows what. I mean, all of this is lots of possibilities. More to the point, the story about the wedding out here, you've got a big feast, right? And we read in John 6 stone storage jars for the Jewish ritual of purification. The Jewish religious law said that a vessel made out of clay would communicate uncleanness. All right, so if I'm unclean, ritually unclean, I touch a vessel made out of clay, I hand it to somebody else, they become unclean as well. If you're kosher, want to keep kosher, don't want to be ritually unclean, you'd better be off having stone jars or plates or vessels. They don't communicate uncleanness, right? And kind of keep the purity at home that way, you might say. They're much more expensive. If you've got one holding a bunch of gallons of water, then you know that you've got a home that is wealthy enough, number one, to afford such things, and number two, kosher enough to want to have them. If Jesus goes to a wedding, it's either friends or relatives. And here we have Jesus, whatever else he is part of and comfortable in a wealthy Orthodox Jewish setting. Whatever else he is, at least that has to be a piece of it. You know, the Bible says God made us in his image. The Canaanites made God in their image. They made him into the god of chaos and the god of the tree and the god of all that stuff, right? You know what we tend to do? We tend to make Jesus in our own image as well. You know, when I grew up, Jesus was a fine Christian gentleman with a nice narrow tie, right? Yep.
House broken.
Yep. You bet. A lot of Messianic Jews in Jerusalem want to make Jesus into an Orthodox rabbi. Some want to make him into a socialist revolutionary, Che Guevara. You know, is a favorite one. Right? A lot of people want to make him into a Nelson Mandela. A lot of people want to make him into a Wall Street broker. A lot of people want to make him into a grandfather. You name it, and you'll find it. All right? You can't put a box around God. You can't put a box around him either. And what we do when we start to walk through the Galilee and see the kinds of interactions he had, yes, it's to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, but not only, as we're going to see. And yes, we're going to see he came from a squatty village, but he didn't stay there. And he ends up in places that are rather opportunistic. Do they characterize him, or are they just part of his world? I'll let you answer that one yourself. But he can meet needs wherever they happen to be. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we can say he's no more a wealthy kosher Jew than he is a Samaritan woman. But he does meet needs. Yeah, Cana. There is no road to Cana. There's a smelly, sheep-carcassed garbage road that the tractors use. It'll be a full half day for us to go there and come back from Kfar Manda walking. All right? Or we can look at it across the field. I'm going there next weekend with our semesters too.
So are there any ruins there?
There are ruins there, and guess what? They verify what we're talking about.
Okay.
They verify this was a profitable town. This was a kosher town. We can tell from the finds that are up there that it fits that image. And you'd expect it, right, being on the edge of the valley like that it would participate. Its resources are right at its door.
So, Paul, what would have caused it to not be a place anymore?
Anymore? Mm-hmm. The name is preserved. The Arabs call this the Cana ruin. So the name is there. That's why we know this is Cana. I think it got moved. Right now, the town called Cana, where the churches are and all the buses go, is a big city on the main highway just over here, close to Nazareth. And I think it got moved for the same reason why we're not going there right now. It's a long way from Nazareth. And when the pilgrims came to town, they wanted, you know, not to walk forever. And the names got moved. The names got moved to be more convenient to the loop. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it possible when the Romans destroyed their own city, took that one out too and rebuilt this one?
No, it's even after that it's built.
Okay.
Even after that. Yeah, this is the one that was, they took this one out because the Jews were attacking the center of Roman power in their land. And to squash the Jews, they just, you find sometimes an occupying power knocking the walls down of their own city so that the rebels can't hide behind the walls and attack them. And they sort of do the same thing. Okay. Parable language. Yeah, a sower went out to sow. Some of the seed fell on.
Dry.
Well, right here it all looks pretty good.
Fertile.
But get out there between the bushes, you see a lot of rocks, you see a lot of thistles. A lot of thistles. You see a lot of hard path and birds eating. I've got pictures of all of this. And you see a lot of good soil. Yeah, 30, 60, 100. Yeah. Yeah. The parables are nothing but real life, believable stories. Yeah, they have to be.
So another question.
Yeah.
When you were pointing out towns,
Yeah.
you said Jewish town, red roofs.
Yeah.
Is that a common thing?
They're building like the Mediterranean world builds. Some of the Arabs are now starting to build the same way. But the look here is more like you'd find it in other parts of the Mediterranean. And the look up there is more like you'd find it in other parts of the Middle East. Yeah.
And the loudspeaker, is that, it's
I think this is something going on in a Jewish,
so it's athletic or something?
something kind of event,
Not
yes.
the Arab,
Shabbat. No, it's not the Kol Haper. No.
Okay. Because they have their sermons on Friday afternoons, don't they?
Yeah, that's done by now.
The sermons are done.
They're done by now, yeah.
And if there are going to be riots, most likely always
It'd be,
after that.
it'd be
right?
now. Yeah. Here we go.